He gave himself. He drove the bow up the shingle hard enough to throw Marin forward, and he had her by the arm before the boat stopped grinding, hauling her up and over the gunwale onto the stones. "The trees," he said. "There's no time for you to—" "Go," he said again, gently this time, and gave her a small push toward the black line of the trees, and something in the gentleness of it told her what he meant to do. And she made a sound, and then she did the bravest and hardest thing, which was the thing he had asked. She turned and ran, the child against her chest, up the shingle and into the dark trees, and was gone. Bevan shoved the boat back off the stones. His arms were nothing now, 22 years past their strength and emptied by the crossing. But they had one task left, and they did it. They turned the old boat broadside across the narrow mouth of the landing, the only easy place to ground a hull on that stretch of rocky shore. And he sat there in the fog in the middle of the channel, an old man and his boat making of themselves a gate. He could hear Pell's boat coming, close now, the young men's voices high with the nearness of the catch. He did not try to hide. He shipped his oars across his knees and he waited, the way he had not let Arrow wait, the way a man waits who has finally chosen the thing he is going to pay for. They came out of the fog fast and nearly ran him down, and there was shouting and a boat sook and hard young hands, and the question barked at him again and again. Where is she? Where did she land? Which way? And Bevan, who knew exactly which way, looked up at the angry, frightened servants of a cruel man and said nothing at all. He gave them nothing. Every second he cost them was a second of trees between Marin and the child and the men who wanted them. And he spent those seconds the way a miser spends at the very end, all at once and gladly, holding his silence while they searched his empty boat and swore at him, and finally understood that the old ferryman had run them onto the wrong landing on purpose and bought the woman her start, and turned their anger on the only body left to turn it on. What they did to him there in the fog is not the part that matters, and the strait, which is kind in one strange way, did not make him carry it long. What matters is what he saw as the cold water finally came up around him and the white closed over, which was that the fog did its work for him one last time and gave him his dead. But it was not the sorrowful, patient era of 22,000 crossings who formed in the vapor now. It was Era at 19, with her face wide open and unafraid, the reproach gone out of it entirely, looking at her father the way she had looked at him when she was small, and he had done some ordinary heroic thing like carry her on his shoulders through a storm. And she was holding out her hand to him across the white, and he understood that he had been forgiven, not because the dead forgive, but because he had finally done the thing that let him forgive himself, and that the long sentence of meeting her sorrowing in the fog was over, because there was no longer anything to be sorry for. On the far shore, climbing through the black trees with the child quiet and warm against her, Marin heard the sounds across the water stop, and knew what the stopping meant, and wept as she climbed, and did not stop climbing, because the old man had spent his life to buy her this, and to stop would be to waste it. She found the mill. She found the woman called Seld. She and the child were hidden, and moved on, and lived. And on the far side of a hard country years later, safe, she told a small child who asked where they came from, a story about an old ferryman in the fog who could have handed them over and saved himself, and instead made of his own boat a gate, and gave everything he had so that two strangers could climb a dark hill into the rest of their lives. They never knew his name, but on certain foggy nights ever after, the boatmen of that strait said you could hear an oar working out in the white where no boat was, slow and steady and unhurried, the stroke of a man rowing not away from something anymore but toward it, at last, across the last of the water, to where a girl of 19 stood waiting in the mist with her hand held out, on the near side now of whatever shore it is the forgiven finally reach.